only on DAZN, July 12th. Ring 3, Berlanga versus Shirez and Stevenson versus Cepeda. They're in their prime, they're hungry, and they're done being called the future. Berlanga versus Shirez, Stevenson versus Cepeda. Ring 3, live, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. As you can see, my ugly mug a lot of the time at the minute. Mr. Kalle Sauerland, how are we, sir?
Doing well, mate. I'm sitting with you in a venue that is very, very special and dear to me. Lots of fights promoted in this place since, and we are in Manchester. In case you didn't know, we're in Manchester Arena. I think my first one, and I think could have been early, was 15 years ago. Wasn't one to remember, but it was part of a big era, that David Haye era, that we were lucky to be involved in, and we promoted the fight Haye-Harrison, which obviously left a bit of a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths, but there was a lot of hype around it, and went on, done another big night here. I remember George Groves, Eubank. That was a great night, and then obviously the Eubank wins, a win and loss against Smith, and then it's sort of I also Prime card with Misfits.
Well, that was here, yeah.
It was here as well. One of the highest ever pay-per-view combat sports events of all time. But it's just been so many great nights. Also fights that I've come up here and watched, and as a kid, I remember seeing Nassim up here. Eubank was on the card as well in a very brave fight. So yeah, it's just like this place is synonymous for me with boxing. One of my favourite arenas to promote in, if not the. Yeah, I just love it. Love the vibe in here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Saturday night. Your man Harlem Eubank, after seeing him on Channel 5 to the millions, he gets that step up. He fights Jack Catterall, who, although lost last time out, proved that he was world level against Arnold Barboza, and you'll be looking at the opportunity for your man to stay undefeated and kind of relish those world honours and more legacy to the Eubank name.
Yeah, look, I mean, let's start with Catterall. He's the A side, that's what they put it at least. I'd go on sporting terms undoubtedly, and forget the Barboza fight. Linares, Josh Taylor twice, Progress. He's been in some deep waters with some very, very strong names and fighters and legends. So he's shared the ring, and he's been there and sort of ticked all those boxes. So when we're going into uncharted territories, into enemy grounds, we are looking at what someone's done, what's going to happen. We can see everything with Catterall. He's been there and done it, and it's all on tape. It's all easy to see.
You feel like the blueprint's there?
Yeah, well, you see it, don't you? I mean, it's undeniable. Now, what exactly have Team Catterall been off studying with Harlem Eubank? Like, going to correct Sam Jones. He hasn't been around for ages. He's been around since 2017, right? Even you, young Charles, will remember 2017. Yeah. So it's not exactly like that's ages. That's the year when we did the first season of the World Boxing Super Series. It's like that's no time ago. I remember it like yesterday.
Especially when you put COVID in between that.
You put COVID in between, which is sort of -3 years, isn't it? But Catterall's been around since 2012. So there's a big difference in that. Yeah, I know they've got a year apart, but there's not much that they could have studied on Harlem Eubank. Yeah, they can study the McKenna fight. They both fought McKenna. Schwarzkopf, they both fought Schwarzkopf. But come on, you're not going to analyse a 12-round deep water strategy, are you? So we don't know. So from us as promoters of Harlem Eubank, it still baffles me why they're taking this fight. Why are they taking this fight? What's that?
You ain't complaining though.
Not complaining. I mean, listen, it's not. This isn't life-changing money. Yeah, it's about sport, and it's about rolling the dice, and it's not. For Eubank, it's not. Harlem's not going to retire on this fight either way. nor's Jack.
You seem that confident that Haaland wins, though.
Yeah, I'm very relaxed about it because I know what he can do. I've seen him in train. But I've also believe in. Look, I said before, I'm sort of blessed. I've been around this sport 27 years as a promoter, but been around it my whole life. 48 years old. Handled 47 world champions, but 80% of those from scratch. Now, I'm not just puffing my chest out saying that. The reason I'm saying that is it's always a time to pick a fight and to roll that dice. There's always that one fight, and Jack would have had the same thing, by the way. It would have been a moment in his career where he's right, okay, I've got to go and take that fight, right? This fits. This is a step up, and only I will find out how it is then. And that's exactly what's happened. This is Eubank's time.
Moving on to a couple of topics within the boxing world. I'm going to go first in with Jake Paul. He's a man who does good numbers and sells well.
So, I've done a lot of interviews today. This is my first Jake Paul question.
Is it the first Jake Paul question? There we are. Good to know we're keeping it fresh and authentic. I could just tell,
when I hit the youth demographic.
There we are.
There you go.
You knew it was coming.
So it's like take the blazer off and get the chain out.
Yeah, there we are.
Put the earring in.
Couple of earrings. Yeah, pair of maybe not the Laura Pianas, maybe the kind of
Bottega Venedas.
Oh, okay. I do apologise. Different tax bracket to me, Kalle. On the topic of Jake Paul,
I'm going to remember that one. That's a good one.
He is. He's DMing Anthony Joshua, and there's a chance that they fight next year. What do you make of that?
What do I think of that? I think that's mad. I think that's mad on so many levels that I think the last time that a crossover fighter fought Anthony Joshua was in Ghana, right? It didn't end well, and I think Jake, credit to him, beating Chavez at the weekend. You can look at that fight one of two ways. I'll just look at it as the result on paper, be neutral on it, and he's entered the WBA at number 14 now. So again, I'm not putting my Misfits hat on, my KSI partner hat on here. I'm just looking at it like that. That's his route that he's taking. So why on earth are we now talking about a former heavyweight champion? He's ranked at the cruiserweight. So on the one hand, the narrative is we're going down the cruiserweight path. So is it the money play or is it the sport play? If it's the sport play, then the logical step as a promoter would be, right, I've got a guy in the top 14, let me go and find someone in the top 10 now. Doesn't have to be the top 5, top 10. Let's fight him next, because that will get me up to close to a final eliminator position, right? That is the natural play. So I'm being devil's advocate.
I ain't gonna what pays the money.
I'm getting to that point, but I'm just trying to I'm playing the devil's advocate here, and saying I want to go the sporting route. That's fair enough. Yeah, it is what it is. I still think the in terms of the biggest fight for him is still KSI. That's still the biggest money fight in the sport.
Do you think that happens one day?
I think I know JJ would do that fight. I know he would, but he's got a lot of things on as well. And Jake Paul's got a lot of things.
Are we going to see JJ still boxing? I know when I spoke to him, I heard about the hand injury, and then since then he's kind of.
I think it's big fights. That's what it is. It's got to be something that excites him, and there's lots out there to excite him. So yeah, I do. But it's at the same time it's the exciting fights. It's the ones Jake Paul, McGregor. Is it a Nate Diaz potentially if he gets a win? Is it? Is it something else bizarre that comes out of the blue in this space? You just don't know. Andrew Tate, there's so many different crazy names that have been bandied around that are massive, massive fights. McGregor's huge. It's a huge fight.
Just quickly, Tyson Fury, as of this time yesterday, he was in Istanbul speaking to Oscar, saying that he ain't going to fight again. As of this morning, he is fighting Oleksandr Usyk next year at Wembley Stadium. So when did Oscar interview him? Yesterday. There you go. I mean, look, it seems to me like when His Excellency Turkey sort of says this will happen, it generally in boxing happens. So
my opinion right now is I think it happens. I think he fights again. I don't know who against. I know he's announced it's the Undisputed, but even with Tyson's magical ways, Usyk still has to beat Dubois. Yeah, so that's and I would guess that if that's next summer, and given that this is sort of midsummer this year, I would expect whoever wins that fight to fight again before then. So I don't think they're going to wait a year for that. So there's a few ifs around that, but I do think Tyson will fight again. I think for my own personal selfish reasons, I want him to fight again because I want him to be attached to the sport. If I'm Tyson Fury, mate, I'm nowhere to be seen. I'm on that beautiful Italian Como Lake with my wonderful missus and all my kids, and I'm having a great time, and I'm eating loads of pizza every day, and I'm doing lots of sleeping, lots of sunbathing, and hitting the gym for fun reasons.
He wasn't ever really retired, was he?
I don't think so. And he's done it to us before. You know, he has done it to us before. But again, it adds to the intrigue. And, you know, he's not the first boxer to do this, by the way, in the history of the sport. He's just a character. And the sport needs character. It's the same with AJ, by the way. I don't want AJ to retire. That's selfish reasons, though. Yeah. Bro, he's probably got 200-300 million in the bank, you know? So why on earth would he box on?
All right, lastly
Fighting
for me,
men.
Eddie said that they'd had an approach from, I suppose, Chris Eubank's camp to say that he's no longer, well, no, I don't want to say no longer under contract, but like if you're dealing with Chris, you go to Chris. No one else, not boxer necessarily. So Eddie come out and say that. Then there were statements put out saying, no, they're in a partnership. People saying, well, what's a partnership? When you watch it unfold, does it kind of make you remember what was going back on when you were in that same boat with Eubank Jr.? Is this different?
I'm free, and I am blessed to be free. It's just so, no, listen. I don't think the fight happens. The fight doesn't happen.
What, the rematch?
I don't think it happens in September. That's my personal feeling. That's nothing that I know, but I've dealt with Junior for a long time, and I just don't think he'll be ready for September. That's God's honest truth. I sort of know the way he is between fights, and he's a very healthy guy. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do any crazy stuff. He likes to sit at gambling tables, but he seems to be quite good at that and wins a lot, so fair enough. But at the same, I don't see him fighting in September. I just don't see it.
Kalle, as always, lovely speaking to you, my man, and catch up soon and throughout the rest of the week. I'm sure we've got a bit of dinner tomorrow, I'm hearing. So.
I heard you're playing paddle with my brother. I'm not involved in that sector of the sport.
You always skip paddle.
No, I do like paddle. It's just that you all freak me out how obsessed you are with paddle.
We are obsessed. Nissa's double obsessed.
That young generation. That's Nissa also trying to be young, yeah? That's Nissa trying to be young. I'll stick to golf.
Kalle, you're a legend, top man.
Live, only on DAZN, July 12th. Ring 3, Berlanga versus Shiraz and Stevenson versus Cepeda. They're in their prime, they're hungry, and they're done being called the future. Berlanga versus Shiraz, Stevenson versus Cepeda. Ring 3, live, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.